Hello and welcome to Global News Factory. I'm your host, Vikrant. We're covering three topics today. First one is how major cities in Ukraine are now revolting against Zelensky. They're now refusing to act against Russian culture and their own history. You should not miss this development, this report today. And second, we talk about Boris Johnson files. Why Boris Johnson killed a peace deal between Ukraine and Russia. We have a clear answer now. And in the end, we shall talk about how US is begging BRICS countries to rescue its economy, hit hard by China's rare earth squeeze. By the way, we are now rolling out the timestamp feature on our videos so that you can jump to your preferred segment seamlessly. Okay, let's start now. Zelensky is sweating. Why? Because a pro Russia wave is rising in big cities of the country like Odesa, Kyiv, and Kharkiv. The mood is changing. People are asking questions. City councils are not dancing to Kiev's tune. And when power slips, panic hits. So, what does Zelensky do? He swings the hammer. He says local leaders are not doing enough against Russia. He goes after the Odessa mayor, Hennady Trukhanov. He even cancels his citizenship. The charge? He has a Russian passport. That's a big deal in Ukraine because holding Russian citizenship is illegal. But here is the twist. Hennady says, no, I don't have Russian passport. And back in 2016, Ukraine's own security agency services said they found no proof of that. Trukhanov has also been accused by anti-corruption officials of stealing public money. Is anyone surprised? I'm not. This is classic playbook of Zelensky to fight his rivals. These charges float in the air like dust in the sunlight. Lots of talk, lots of drama, but no clean answers. Meanwhile, the president keeps fighting with local leaders, not just in Odessa, in Kyiv and Kharkiv too. The map looks like a boxing ring, corners everywhere, no referee. Zelensky and his team say the mayors messed up. They say the cities were not protected well from Russian airstrikes. They say public services were mismanaged. The mayors are fighting back. The mayors say Kiev is cutting their powers to grab more control. The mayors say this is about crushing rivals before any future elections. One side shouts security, the other side shouts freedom. The people get the headache. Listen to Oleski Potapisky from the opposition party European Solidarity in the Odessa City Council. He says, I'm quoting, our president has been in power for 6 years and only now he discovers that Mr. Trukhanov allegedly has Russian citizenship. Unquote. That one lands like a jab. If this was known, why act now? If this was unknown, why the rush? The timing looks convenient. Even Kiev's mayor, Vitaly Klitschko, is not keeping quiet. Earlier this year, he said Zelensky is misusing martial law to overrule the city council. That is not a small claim. That is the capital city's mayor calling foul. If the center overrules the city, where does local power go? Guess what? To Zelensky and the military. Zelensky says he will set up a military administration for the city and appoint a boss soon. That means the army runs the show, not the mayor's office, not the council, not the elected ones, the army. This is a hard reset. When politics fails, bring uniforms. Simple, sharp, and scary. So why is Zelensky so jumpy? Because the ground in these cities is not firm anymore. People are tired, councils are stubborn, some do not want to erase the past. Trukhanov has openly opposed renaming streets or tearing down statues linked to Russia. He says, in simple words, do not delete history. That makes him a target. If you don't follow the script, you become the villain. And this is the real battle. Not just tanks and drones, it is memory and meaning. What do you keep? What do you cut? What do you call your streets? Who do you call your heroes? If a city wants one song and the capital wants another, who controls the playlist? Right now, Ukraine looks like a house with many rooms and many locks. The president wants one master key, the mayors want their own keys, the people want the doors to stay open. But the war outside makes everything harder. Fear grows, power grows faster. In the end, one question stays on the table. Is this about safety or is this about staying in charge? Odessa, Kiev, Kharkiv, each city is a test. If local voices are muted, the country goes quiet. If they are heard, the center feels weak. Zelensky is betting on force, the mayors are betting on local pride, the crowd is watching, and the clock is loud. Moving on, let's rewind the tape to the year in which the Ukraine war began, 3 years back. Ukraine and Russia had a draft on the table, talks in Istanbul, both sides circling a truce, and then Boris Johnson lands in Kiev like a movie cameo and, according to multiple accounts, says, "Don't sign the peace deal." Then what happens? War keeps rolling, more shells, more graves, more bills. For 2 years, this sat like an open tab, nobody closed. Why Boris Johnson? Why then? We might have answers now, because now comes a fresh plot twist. The Guardian drops the Boris files, leaks, emails, and now we're learning that after leaving office, Boris built a private vehicle to make money. Into that vehicle, a 1 million euro gift flows from one man. That name is Christopher Harborn. He is rich, globe hopping, into crypto, aviation fuel, and here is the spicy bit. He has stakes in defense tech, including Quinet IQ, a British firm whose drones and bomb disposal robots have gone to Ukraine. Weapons in, money out, war on. And now connect the dots with a fat marker. Donor bankrolls Boris's outfit. Donor has skin in the arms game. Boris tells Ukraine to keep fighting, and it gets weirder. A year after the war began, Harborn travels to Kiev with Boris, listed as an advisor on event paperwork. Follow the money is not a PhD thesis, it is kindergarten math. If drones keep flying, revenue keeps rising. If a truce lands, that revenue gets a haircut. If you are pocketing seven figures and sitting next to the guy who shakes hands with presidents, what do you whisper on the train? Keep the war going. But are we really shocked that rich donors with defense stakes end up near the action? Please, Europe has a long tradition of moral speeches with commercial footnotes. Washington, too. You hear values, markets hear orders. When leaders posture about standing with Ukraine, someone's spreadsheet stands taller. That is not a conspiracy, that is capitalism with a helmet. Yesterday it was Boris, today it is Trump, Mark Rutte, and Ursula. Trump said himself he would end the war in 24 hours. Now he says, we are making profits of Ukraine war. Watch this.
We're not spending any money on the war. The war is being funded by NATO. NATO is buying our equipment. In fact, I don't want to make money on that war. I don't want to, but we are actually making money on that war because they're buying our equipment, as you know. But
profit is the reason why Trump is now sending dozens of tomahawks to Ukraine. Profit is the reason, my friends, why we see articles like these. Just look at the headline. Russia plotting chilling World War III strike that would destroy UK in nuclear tidal wave. Wow. Profit is the reason why they think your children, your grandchildren must spend their youth in trenches. Don't go hard on Boris Johnson, please. He is a thing of the past. Let's focus on Boris Johnson's we have today, sitting in big offices. Moving on, Trump's news diet looks like fast food, loud, greasy, and not very real. He said this week that everybody is dropping out of BRICS because he threatened tariffs. Watch this.
And now the domination like BRICS. I told anybody wants to be in BRICS, that's fine, but we're going to put tariffs on your nation. Everybody dropped out. They're all dropping out of BRICS. BRICS was an attack on the dollar. And I said, you want to play that game, I'm going to put tariffs on all of your product coming into the U.S. They said, like I said, we're dropping out of BRICS. And BRICS is like, they don't even talk about it anymore.
Cute line, zero facts. BRICS did not shrink, it grew. Indonesia joined as a full member in January this year. That is the opposite of dropping out. Here is the real picture. BRICS has been adding members and partner countries. Vietnam became member in June. The club is bigger, louder, very alive. So when Trump says the bloc is dying, he is selling a ghost story. The facts say expansion, not extinction. US says BRICS is dead, but somehow begs the same BRICS to rescue its economy. The US is facing the China squeeze on rare earth, the magic ingredients for jets, missiles, magnets, and a whole lot of high tech. So, the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, is now saying the US expects substantial support from Europe, India, and Asian democracies. Watch this.
Defending these rare earth export controls, and what can you do in America to ensure that we have independence and can refine these items ourselves?
Well, Maria, as I said, this is China versus the world. They have pointed a bazooka at the supply chains and the industrial base of the entire free world. And, we're not going to have it. China is a command and control economy. They are neither going to command nor control us. We are going to assert our sovereignty in various ways. We have already been in touch with the allies. We will be meeting with them this week. And, I expect that we will get substantial global support from the Europeans, from the Indians, from the democracies in Asia. And we will not let these export.
Weeks after slamming India with tariffs, Washington is asking Delhi for help. Shameless creatures. So why this change? Because China is tightening export controls and license approvals. Europe is scrambling. US is scrambling. Where does India fit in that scenario? The Trump administration wants India to route some rare earth from China to US. However, we are learning that Beijing and Delhi are cooperating on this matter and India will comply with China's export control rules. Bottom line is this. In the real world, BRICS is a moving bus. New passengers get on, some think about standing, a few complain about the crowd, but the bus is rolling. Trump's line about everyone dropping out is a campaign soundbite, not a map. And that's all for now. Thank you very much for joining. You're watching GNF.